2024 predictions for the American League West. I would say an interesting division, and it certainly is, but it's top heavy, and the gap in the American League West from the top two and a half teams to the bottom is bad. Everybody knows the Oakland A's, not a great franchise, but the disparity between them and what they have going on as an organization compared to the top of this division, it is crazy. Mariners, Angels, Rangers, Astros, and Oakland A's. Where do they stand? How do they finish? What is their record? And where do I have them? I've got it covered. I've got it all right now. Here we go. American League West predictions. In fifth place, I've got the Oakland A's. Nobody's surprised by this. 2023 for the Oakland A's was a bad year. 2024 is going to be a bad year. The Oakland A's are a bad baseball team. And they're going to be a bad baseball team until ownership changes. Because the current ownership of the Oakland A's will not commit to spending any amount of money, no matter what, ever at any moment. Operating on a for-profit only basis. And until that changes, the A's will always be a fifth place American League West team. Rumors, speculation, A's are going to Vegas. Now they're not going to Vegas, but they still are. But the Las Vegas mayor is telling the A's and the city of Oakland to get it figured out. The owner of the Oakland A's wants to move so bad. And I think it'll happen. It may be a few years, but the time between now and then, who knows how long it's going to take? It may be 2 years. It may be 4 years. It may be 6, 7, 8 years. And in that time frame, every year we're going to do our predictions, and every year we're going to have the Oakland A's finishing in last place. Every year, every single year. Because even if they do end up with good players, they will trade them. And even if they do have talented players, they do not have the development skills in place in the organization from a coaching or analytics perspective to allow these guys to succeed. And when it comes down to it, the A's are a bad team. They're going to be a bad team. It's a dumpster fire organization. And you do have to feel for some of the players, some of the guys that have signed with that team, being that some of them are young. Some of them just want a chance to extend their career. And that's kind of the exact or the entire summary of the Oakland A's roster. Last year, they went 50 and 112, 50 and 112. This upcoming season, their projected win total is 57.5. Their World Series odds are plus 50,000. So you can bet $100 on the Oakland A's to win the World Series right now. And if they do, you win $50,000. Won't happen. Don't do it. If you bet money on the Oakland A's to win the World Series, before you do, stop what you're doing. Remember that I said this. And instead of putting that bet down and placing the wager, just call me or text me and send me that money, because I could put it to better use for anything than betting on the Oakland A's to win it all. Players to watch for the Oakland A's this upcoming season, I will say, Mason Miller, starting pitcher, righty, and the guy throws 1 trillion miles an hour. He's really, really good. High ceiling guy, needs to stay on the mound and stay healthy. Mason Miller is going to be one of the bright points of the Oakland A's this year, if they have any. Another guy to watch, Jacob Wilson, a shortstop out of Grand Canyon. Jack Wilson's son, shortstop, ETA next season. But who knows? Could happen. The A's are known for young, controllable talent and calling guys up probably a little bit too quickly to some degree. He's a top prospect for them. So if you see Jacob Wilson in the big leagues this year, remember that I brought up his name and that he's a pretty good shortstop prospect for them. And more than likely, he probably won't end up finishing his career with the Oakland A's or the Athletics organization, because if he becomes a good player, they'll just trade him away for more prospect capital. My prediction for them is exactly on the Vegas number, 57 and 105. Fifth place. Horrible season, gonna be a disaster, historically low attendance numbers. Nobody's gonna care about this team. It's gonna be an ugly year, and rinse and repeat again, over and over. That was the story 5 years ago, and then 4 years ago, and then 3 years ago, and then 2 years ago, and then last year, and this year, and it will be next year, and the year after that, and the year after that, and the year after that. It sucks really bad for Oakland A's fans. If I was an Oakland A's fan, I mean, I guess I would hang around with the team and hope the best. But I would also try to pick another team for personal reasons, for connectivity reasons, like, oh, I knew this guy I went to college in the area. I don't know what, like, find something or somebody else to root for if you're an A's fan, because the A's aren't going to be it this year. It's going to be a really, really bad and ugly season. Sorry, A's fans. Blame anybody. If you're going to blame anybody, it's the A's owner, John Fisher. Oakland A's fifth place. Fourth place in the American League Western Division, Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. The Anaheim Angels, right? Let's just call them that. No, they're Los Angeles. No. If you've been to California, you know Anaheim is nowhere close to the downtown Los Angeles area, but they're the Los Angeles Angels. Like last season, 73 and 89. That was with Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani. This season, their projected win total, 72 and a half. Lower than last year, which is not entirely surprising because they lost the best player in the world, Shohei Ohtani. Their World Series odds are plus 18,000, bet 100, win 18 grand if they win the World Series. And some players to watch for the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. One of them is a younger prospect controllable guy, right? And falls stereotypically into the category of players to watch because you're like, oh, who is this guy? I don't know, whatever. Not known yet, not established, right? Nolan Schanuel, first base prospect, high prospect for them, gonna be in the big leagues this year, has some pop, good potential, we'll see. But ultimately, is he gonna be a huge difference maker? I don't know, right? I don't know. It's going to be an interesting year for the Angels in general because my other player listed as a player to watch, Michael Nelson Trout. Mike Trout. What do you mean player to watch Mike Trout? Player to watch Mike Trout in parentheses next to his name, I put trade because Mike Trout's a loyal guy. Mike Trout signed a big contract with the Angels franchise. He's been there for a while. He's been asked about his future with the organization and he's answered questions in the right way. He's answered them in the politically correct, and he has said pretty much the right thing most of the time. But anybody that knows anything about anybody or anything would tell you Mike Trout probably doesn't want to be there much longer, right? He's got his contract. I'm not sure the entire, in fact, why don't we look it up? Mike Trout contract. So Trout is under contract for this season and through the year 2030. So 2024, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. So he's under contract for 7 more years. It was a 12-year deal, $426 million. He's getting $35 million a year. He'll be an unrestricted free agent by after his age 38 season. I don't know if he'll get traded. I doubt it'll happen. I'm not sure anybody wants to take on that contract. And I'm not saying Mike Trout's a bad player because he's not. It's a lot of money, right? $35 million a year every single year for the next 7 years. It's hard to commit that much to anybody. So for Trout, is he going to be there at the end of that contract? I would argue no, right? It's probably more likely he gets traded in this second to last or last year of that contract if he's still highly productive. He has had some chronic health issues. It's part of it listing Mike Trout as a player to watch because of that trade value and the way that the organization's trending. The other part of it is I had a hard time finding somebody else on this roster or in the farm system to list off as a player to watch, especially somebody that's as of the caliber of Mike Trout. So I have Mike Trout listed as a player to watch in terms of a trade. You may see some random momentum starting to build in that direction. And if that's the case, somebody may pull the trigger at the end of the year or in the trade deadline. Probably won't, but who knows, right? Player to watch regardless. My prediction for them is 77 and 85. Their win total is 72 and a half. I think they're going to be a little better than that, but 77 and 85 is good enough for fourth place in this division. It's not good because the Angels are not good. But it's not the worst, but it's basically just another year of Mike Trout's career wasted and down the toilet, and another year where he doesn't play in the playoffs. In that realm of him getting traded, don't rule out the possibility of Mike Trout getting traded and in that negotiation process, potentially restructuring his contract. I know it would be hard to say pay me less, but they could restructure it where it's like, oh, he's getting the same amount, but now it's deferred, right? So a team could get him and not have to break the bank and get smashed with the luxury tax situation of that $37 million a year. Because his best buddy and old teammate, Shohei Ohtani, just did that with the Dodgers. So don't rule it out for Trout. Will it happen? Probably not. But I had him listed as a player to watch. So I got the Angels in fourth, 77 and 85 in 2024. My next team, my next prediction and pick in the American League Western Division, the third place finisher, Seattle Mariners. The Seattle Mariners in third place. Oh no. Oh no. Oh yeah, third place. Am I doing this out of spite? Maybe. But what I do know is that their general manager came out this offseason Actually, was it their GM or is it DePoto? President of Baseball Ops. Okay, so Jerry DePoto, president of Baseball Ops, right? Let's probably, has a massive say in roster construction. Was on the record basically this offseason and after the disappointing sort of finish to the Mariners season last year. So on record basically saying like, yeah, well, based on projections and, all these different data points and just the references that we have and the way this roster is constructed, our aggregate number of all these different things we're trying to get to 86 to 88 wins every single year. And if we can get to that number, I think our fan base should be pretty appreciative, basically. And it's like, what? Huh? What are you talking about? What? The goal should be to win the World Series every year. The goal should be to win 100 games every year. So it's obvious and clear at this point what the Mariners, how the Mariners are operating as an organization. Last year, they went 88 and 74. This year, their projected win total is 86 and a half. World Series odds are plus 2,000, which is pretty good. I mean, better than most, right? Projected wins is a couple of wins below last season. They have some guys coming back this year, some guys that could potentially bounce back. They also made some pretty decent acquisitions, one of which is listed under my group of players to watch. And that first player in players to watch is Mitch Garver, catcher. They signed in free agency, coming from the World Series champion Texas Rangers, interdivision acquisition, not a trade, just signed him. And I thought it was a great pickup. I was just a little bit confused about adding him when you already have Cal Raleigh. And I know you have to have multiple catchers, but to have two kind of top 10, 8 to 10 catchers in the game is an interesting strategy. Now, does that mean, probably more likely than not, one guy will DH a lot or the other guy will DH and they'll switch off, right? Give each other a good break, build some depth at the catching position. If they have other guys, if one of them goes down, you have another reliable catcher to go to. Yeah, okay. All of that makes sense. It was just a little bit confusing. Doesn't matter because it's a good acquisition. I just hope Mitch Garver can play as much as he deserves to play and get regular at bats. Because when that dude plays and gets regular at bats and he's in the lineup every single day, he puts up numbers, offensive numbers. And last year with the Texas Rangers, it was a very similar situation, almost kind of splitting rep, DHing a decent amount. He's used to it. It's a similar situation with the Rangers. It was Jonah Heim, younger switch hitting catcher, right? Pretty similar situation with the Mariners. And I like the acquisition. I just hope Garver can get regular at bats, which I think he will. And in that case, it's a good acquisition. And my second player to watch listed, it's not a player one off. It's not one guy. I have the second player to watch listed for the Mariners as insane depth because the Mariners have insane depth. And that doesn't mean they have a full 1 through 9 all-star team. But what that does mean is that the Mariners have listed here on their active 40-man, I think it's just their 40-man roster. I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 infielders rather. 8 infielders listed on their 40-man roster. And when I say 8, I don't mean they have 8 guys listed, 8 random dudes listed. No, it's 8 MLB caliber starting infielders listed in their active 40-man roster. I already mentioned Mitch Garver, a catcher. Garver, going over the catcher category. Garver, Cal Raleigh, Sebi Zavala, big league catcher, has a lot of time under his belt. And Blake Hunt, who I'm not entirely familiar with. Looks like he's a bit of a younger guy, having not as much experience, but that's 4 guys who could realistically end up playing catcher for them this year. Mention the infielders: J.P. Crawford, Ty France, Sam Haggerty, Jorge Polanco, Luke Raley, Josh Rojas, Samad Taylor, and Luis Arias. I apologize to Samad Taylor if I'm not familiar with his game as much, but looking at that list of 8 infielders, it would appear to me, based on name recognition and age and all these different categories that you could throw these guys under, I would say Samad Taylor is the only guy of those 8 where I'm like, is he an infielder? Is he not? Is he big league caliber rather? I don't know. I think he has some time in the big leagues, but the other 7 guys have and are established big league infielders. J.P. Crawford, Ty France, Sam Haggerty, Jorge Polanco, Luke Raley, Josh Rojas, Luis Arias. All of those guys have been starting big league infielders for forever. How do they have 7 guys that could play infield? It's crazy depth. Their outfield, Mitch Haniger acquisition, Julio Rodriguez in center, and then a mix or combination of Cade Marlowe, Dylan Moore, Taylor Trammell, Dominic Canzone. It's insane. Their depth is crazy. Does that mean they're all all-star caliber players? I don't know. I guess we'll see. I guess Jared Dipoto, and that's the strategy, right, of these guys, and they want the aggregate number to be at a certain point, and this and that, money ball, blah, blah, money, like data analytics, all this stuff. Okay, 88 and 74 last year. 86.5 is their projected win total for this season. That being said, I've got them at 86 and 76, third place in the American League West. And you'll notice I don't have them listed as the wild card 3 team. I already gave that to the Blue Jays, who have the identical record, but ultimately take home the tiebreaker in whatever category. And that's the Mariners missing the playoffs. I think what the Mariners are lacking is the star power. I don't mean this as a disrespectful piece or take on this team. And I think the best way to put this is if you took each player on the Mariners roster, let's just say from position player perspective, because they've got some good arms. Luis Castillo, Logan Gilbert, they got good arms. Forget about pitching for a second. Just talking about the offensive structure of this team. If you were to take each one of those guys I've listed off on the offensive side of the ball, and let's say you put them in MLB The Show, the video game, and you rated each one of those guys like they do in MLB The Show from 0 to 100. Most of those guys with their overall rating would be somewhere in the 70s, low to mid 70s, maybe a couple guys in the high 80s, and 1 or 2 guys in like the 80s. But there's nobody in there where you're like, oh, he's a diamond. He's a 95 plus player. He's a 90 plus player. Maybe Julio, maybe. But after that, it's a bunch of mid-range guys. No disrespect. They're all big league caliber. Some of them have had some high peaks. But in my opinion, you can't just assemble a roster, a hodgepodge of middle tier guys and assume because you have depth that that's going to lead you to the promised land. You have to have a couple of big horses to carry the offensive weight. And they're basically counting on Julio Rodriguez and Mitch Garver with bounce back years from JP and Ty France. And I just don't think that's enough. I think that's enough to win 86 games. That's not enough to get into the playoffs. Sorry, Mariners fans. I like the Mariners. I hope the Mariners do well, but that's kind of where I am with this team right now. Very similar kind of output and production from last year. Good pitching, comes up short when it comes time for offensive production. So we'll see. We'll see what happens, but I've got the Mariners in third at 86 and 76. Second place, Houston Astros. Second place Astros. That's right, baby. The second place Houston Astros. Last year, they went 90 and 72. They had an identical record to the Texas Rangers. Ended up taking home the American League West crown based on a tiebreaker, and they had a good year. Dusty Baker retired. I think will have more of an impact than people think. 90 and 72 last season. Their win total projection this year is 93.5, up a couple games, which is interesting. Their World Series odds are 7-1. 7-1. Bet $100, win 700 if they win the World Series. It's actually not a bad bet. I mean, not like maybe you don't have to do $100. But I'm just saying, taking the Astros to win it all. It's a decent future to have. The players I have to watch for them. Everyone knows Altuve. Everyone knows Jose Abreu, Kyle Tucker, Alex Bregman, Verlander, Fromber. Like, everyone knows the guys. I've got 2 guys down here that I think everyone needs to keep an eye on. First one, Forrest Whitley. If you remember Forrest Whitley, man, a couple years back, big time prospect, big time arm that the Astros were really excited about. Tall, lean, power sinker, power 4-seam, good breaking stuff, and has just been absolutely hammered by the injury bug. The type of guy who like gets surgery, it's season ending. Okay, great. We'll see you next year. Comes back, has a setback here, has a setback there, finally gets back to a regimen, finally gets back to semi-regular action with rehab, and another season. And like, it's been a tough run for Forrest Whitley. That being said, at any moment, at any point this season, he's up again, and they can recapture the electricity and hype that was around this kid and the production that they were expecting from him. He could be one of those guys, man, that just turns out to be a star for the Houston Astros. This year would be closer to the back end of the rotation, but just staying healthy. If he can manage to do that, would find himself as the frontline guy for the Astros next year, year after. So keep an eye on Forrest Whitley. This year, probably more so just to track where he is. find out if he can be anywhere near the guy they hoped he was going to be at some point. If he is, great. I hope he is, because he was always a high prospect projection guy, and it just hasn't quite fully hooked on and grabbed yet. So let's hope it does for Forrest Whitley. The other guy I have listed for the Astros and players to watch, Trey Cabbage. Who the hell is Trey Cabbage? I'll tell you who Trey Cabbage is. Left-handed hitting first baseman who made his major league debut last year for the Anaheim Angels. Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, whatever. Trey Cabbage gets called up, put up some pretty good numbers, was always going to be his time in the minor leagues when he was, and the time he spent in the big leagues, which was a short, brief amount of time. He's a swing and miss guy. He doesn't make contact as often as people would hope or like to. The thing with Trey Cabbage is when he does make contact, when he finds a barrel, this dude has video game pop. This dude has exit velos that are astronomically high and semi-regular in terms of consistency and when they show up, right? Because every once in a while, you'll see anybody pop a 110 exit velo, 112. This dude, Trey Cabbage, is like, it's like, if it's under 105, you should be concerned. Seriously concerned. If the Astros can polish him up and get that swing and miss rate down a little bit, this dude's going to be in their lineup in October. Not a joke. Keep an eye out for Trey Cabbage. Seriously. 90 and 72 last year for the Astros. 93.5 is their win total for this season. I got them at 91 and 71. It's good enough for second place. It's a really good record. It's also good enough for the first wild card spot in the American League. So they would be on the road playing against the Minnesota Twins based on my projections. But 91 and 71 is a good record, and they're going to be in second place. They're going to be in the playoffs. They're going to be in the hunt. You know, they're going to be hanging around because of who they have above them in this division. It's only good enough for second place. Not to be huge, big demoralizing guy, because you get in the tournament, anything can happen, especially when you got the veteran leadership and experience that the Astros do. So 91 and 71, second place in the wild card for the Astros. My first place team in the AL West, defending world champion Texas Rangers. Unbelievable. Texas Rangers. What a year, huh? Coming off a world championship, sky high, living the dream. 90 and 72 last year. Mentioned it before, tied with the Astros, lost the division on a tiebreaker. And interestingly, their projected win total this season is actually down a couple of games, 88.5. World Series odds plus 1,400. I would take that all day. Then again, teams repeating is almost impossible. I like those World Series odds. If you're a futures guy, plus 1,400 for this team is pretty legit. Players to watch. Okay, could have gone the easy route and gone Seager, gone Evan Carter, gone Simeon, gone Jonah Heim, gone Leody Taveras. Could have gone Scherzer, could have gone. Oh, wait, did you notice I'm listing off monster after monster? This team's loaded, and the players I have to watch are none of those guys. In fact, they're both prospects. Neither of them have actually contributed to this team. First one is Wyatt Langford. Pretty obvious, though. Still pretty obvious. Outfield prospect out of Florida. Big stacked house, outfield pop guy, powerful swing. He may be up this year because he's a guy that came out of college that had success in college, has had success in the minors already. I don't know if he'll be up this year. Kind of depends on where the Rangers, I think, are as a team. Obviously would depend on any injury bugs that come through that clubhouse. I hope we see him at some point, even if it's just September for a few games, because he's electric. Same story can be said about the other player I have to watch for the Rangers, which is Cole Winn, right-handed pitching prospect, high prospect for them as well. Another guy that they could very easily just call up and mix into the rotation if a couple of guys go down, right? I mean, you've got Scherzer in there. Who knows about his health? You've got Eovaldi. I'm not hoping that any of these guys get injured. I'm just basing off of what's happened in past seasons with Nathan Eovaldi, with Max Scherzer, even Dane Dunning to a degree. You're not sure really what you're going to get sometimes with those guys in terms of staying healthy and just regular starts. So Cole Winn, could very easily see Cole Winn this year. He's a high prospect for them, right-handed starting pitcher, good pitcher for them that they're going to see for years to come, right? If it's not this year, he'll be up next year. He'll be contributing. Keep an eye out for him. 90 and 72, last season's record for the Rangers. This year, they're projected for 88.5 wins. I have them at 93 and 69. Couple of games better than the Astros. That's good enough for first place in the American League West. I like this Rangers team. I think the leadership at the top from Bruce Bochy, even higher than that in the organization, Chris Young. These guys know how to do it. They know how to do it the right way. They know how to do it consistently. They have reliable and dependable pieces in the top two with Seager and Simeon, who, by the way, Corey Seager might win the MVP. Guy got second place in MVP last year, and just no one talks about it. Oh, and also, by the way, Corey Seager gets into the postseason or any crunch time game ever, he comes through. Simeon, bounce back year. I mean, I love it. I love this team. I love Evaldi when he's healthy. I love everything about these guys. I love Josh Young. I love Jonah Heim. I love Nathaniel Lowe. I love it. Let's go. Run it back, Rangers. Come on. Got you in first place. I like that. I think that's where they'll end up, and we'll see what happens. So when it's all said and done, and we finish the American League West, and we get to the final standings, this is exactly what it's going to be. We've got the Oakland A's in 5th, 57 and 105. Angels in 4th, 77 and 85. Mariners in 3rd, 86 and 76. The Astros in 2nd place, 91 and 71. And the defending World Series champion, Texas Rangers, taking home the American League West title, 93 and 69. 2 games over the Astros. Astros get wild card 1. Mariners miss the playoffs. Angels and A's, same story, different year.